buy my course and you can have this yacht and mansion and sports car too. Just spend this money, and it's a one size fits all.
Starting up my own coaching business. I was quite inspired by it. I was quite motivated. I was writing about it. I was talking to people about it. And along comes this guru who's, making a lot more money than me, showing me, giving advice and everything on social media. So I start reaching out to them and talking to them. It just turned out that a lot of what they were suggesting didn't really align with my values or what I wanted.
And I can do other things different to him. And then, yes, everyone's different. I say with my husband, I have my husband to help me with different things. He's like an asset to me when it comes to stuff with my business, because he can figure out and do things. And he knows things that's faster process than me. What can I do during the school hours? It's not like a quantifiable, like monetary amount that you can put the value on it.
What inspires you is that big long-term direction. Then how you actually move there is by thinking about the external world in front of you, like your circumstances. Use our current situation to propel ourselves forward rather than trying to escape it. So there's all these different parts of your life and they all come together to create an idea.
I'm here with Jared, and we're going to talk about what he does. He's nomading around around Europe. We're going to be talking about where your starting point is, because not one size fits all. And you might start with an inheritance. You don't know what to do with it. You want to do more than just it sitting in the bank, or you might be starting with a family of 4 kids. You're struggling. You just want more, and you feel in that pressure for time to get a good upbringing for your kids and want more for them. So yeah, hi Jared, welcome.
Hello, thank you. Thanks for having me. Great to be here. And yes, this is a great intro. One of the things that I really focus on is, the differences between people. And those are environmental differences. So like your unique circumstances, what networks you have, what resources you have, as well as psychological. So, what people might call strengths. I have kind of an issue with that word strengths, but just for simplicity's sake, what your strengths are, how you prefer to operate, and what kind of work you enjoy doing, because I think all of that is really important. If you're looking at other ways to make money, you need to factor all of that in, because sometimes you can have a really viable opportunity, but isn't aligned with your psychology or your circumstances. You might not be able to capitalize on that opportunity. So I teach a range of different decision-making tools designed to help people understand themselves a little bit better and their situation better, so they can work out what is actually viable for them and what approaches or angles to making money they might struggle with. So that's kind of what I do.
Love it, because quite often you'll see, and much like me, is people don't factor in where they're at and where they want to get to, but they just see the buy my course and you can have this yacht and mansion and sports car too. Just spend this money, and it's a one size fits all. But then I've seen people in there, and now you're saying this about the psychology of people. It's not just where you start with your money and your time restraints. It's also how much you can take and how much you can handle. Whether you're good at assessing things. I see that with my husband. We've worked each other out now, that I know there's things that I can just offsource to him and go, you can do this far better and faster than me. And I can do other things different to him. And then, yeah, so everyone's different.
Yeah, and I encountered this problem with, there's a lot of gurus and experts who will offer, a standardized course, and of course they have to, and they can offer, coaching, and they can try and personalize things a little bit. But I was looking at starting up my own coaching business. I was quite inspired by it. I was quite motivated. I was writing about it. I was talking to people about it. And along comes this guru who's, making a lot more money than me, showing me, giving advice and everything on social media. So I start reaching out to them and talking to them. And then I ended up going to their program, and it just turned out that a lot of what they were suggesting didn't really align with my values or what I wanted. So, I really enjoyed sharing my message. They were a lot more focused on results and outcomes. So they wanted to tie my messaging into hard numbers. They wanted to kind of niche down what I was doing. And all of that just kind of killed my motivation, just step by step. And, maybe in some way, what they were offering or what they were suggesting I do was practical. But for me personally, it wasn't, because it just didn't align with who I was and what I wanted. And so, you can start looking at these different types of people. And so, for example, I could compare, their advice to someone like Simon Sinek's advice. I'm not sure if you heard of him or the audience have heard of him, but he's a lot less focused on numbers, more on the messaging, more on what he would call his why, and focusing on his mission and mass reach, low ticket offers. And it worked. It works for Simon Sinek. It works for many other people. And here they were telling me to basically niche down, maybe just focus on corporate stuff, just focus on staff training because that's where the money is, and have hard numbers. Like look at like 50% reduced, what is it, like turnover and things like that. So those are a problem, and I think I've seen a lot of other people go through that same issue as well when it comes to making money and advice. And the reason is we feel this pressure to listen to experts. Obviously, we should, but we should listen to the right experts. We should listen to experts that align with our way of thinking and our way of doing things. Otherwise, we're just going to get pushed in the wrong direction, and then motivation goes.
Yeah, not just who shouts the loudest, because it doesn't always mean quality. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought what I could probably do is offer some basic foundations for, your audience, everyone listening, and we'll go from there and maybe do a little exercise we can all walk through. And if you have any questions, you can kind of ask away. But I wanted to focus on long-term direction. And the reason for that is every little side gig that you have has the possibility to grow and evolve into something much bigger. And I think if anyone's going to get involved in a side gig, they should be looking further out into the future as to what that could evolve into, so that you don't hit any dead ends later on down the road.
Okay, so have you got something to show us, or what is it that
we can just do this verbally, but I want to present people with a problem first. Now, This is a problem that a generic life purpose advice tries to solve. What they often do, and if you were to talk to maybe a general life purpose coach, they're going to ask you a set of questions. What music you're interested in and why? What are some of your past experiences that you've found memorable and why? And who are your favorite friends? What colleagues you love talking to? Even pull up your YouTube history and just see what things you're searching. All of this is to try and identify patterns in your passions, right? So what it is that you actually identify. If it shows up across your social interactions, across your hobbies, across things you do, across your work, then they'll say that as a reliable pattern. But there's a problem with this, which is that who we are as people changes over time. So personality development, right? We go through different experiences, and that can shape our values and what we're interested in. And that can happen roughly every 3 to 7 years. For some people, it's longer, for some people it's shorter, but roughly every 3 to 7 years. And so, the goals that once inspired us no longer do. And then we're left with this dilemma of, well, do we commit to something we're no longer interested in, or do we change directions and start again from the beginning? And so this gives us roughly a 3 to 7 year window to achieve things. And if we don't do it in that time, we're going to hit that dilemma. And so that is what I have seen limiting people's success. You can still be successful with that. Of course, people can start up a very successful business in 5 years. They might just not want to continue with it. They might sell it off and do something else. But I kind of see that as like a cap. It's like a long-term motivation cap on success, because, success kind of is like a exponential curve, right? Our progress isn't linear. It's often like there's a lot of nothing, a bit of something, and then whoosh, away we go. And so you need to stick in the game long enough to see that exponential curve spike up. And that is where we see billionaires and millionaires and, just highly successful people across any field. They're usually committing to things for 20, 30 years. If you can do that, that's great. But I think for most of the people, it's just a matter of luck. They just happen to choose the right thing, and they've just happened to stick with it for years on end. For most people, they're just not lucky enough. They don't choose the right things from the beginning. And so the issue we have here is that we can't trust what currently inspires us. We can't trust that the current decisions that we're going to make, with the future versions of ourselves might not be happy with let's say the side gig that we're going to choose now. So you might have a side gig in mind. You might have a business idea or some way of making money that you want to pursue.
On top of your job.
On top of your job. Yep. Or to be honest, maybe some people will even want to go through a career change or change their direction to a higher paying career, or seek a promotion that takes them down a different path. Can't really predict whether that's going to maintain our long-term motivation and interest. And so any external factors that support the success of this direction. So, for example, you're following like a new trend, there's an industry that's growing massively. Like none of that matters if you don't actually have that inner motivation to continue with that.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm going to offer like a quick little thought process to go through. How we can overcome this issue is by using your past achievements to predict your future goals, right? And so what that looks like is if you segment your entire past into roughly three versions of yourself, three past versions of yourself. So maybe the current version of you, the you like 5 years ago, the you 10 years ago, just split your life up into thirds or into five versions of yourself, roughly. You can look at what you were doing in each of these time periods and note down what it was that most inspired you in each of those activities. So you can break your life up into what was the job I had at the time, what sports was I doing, what hobbies were I interested in, what other side projects were I doing that I gave up on. And then you'll get like a list of things, activities that make up your life. And then within each of those activities, you can start writing down, any past achievements that you've felt fulfilled by and any activities you enjoyed doing. And then we can identify a pattern across time, right? So what that means is if there was something that is consistently showing up across all of your past jobs, maybe it was, something like building new systems, let's say, or connecting people or whatever it is, right? You identify a pattern and it's existing across jobs, across time periods. It means that it outlasted all of the different versions of yourself, which means that it's very likely to outlast all of the changes you go through as a person in the future. So we're identifying the most robust pattern by looking across time. And, you can do that, for example, like what's the type of work I enjoy doing? And you look back at the past and you're like, you know what? I really loved public speaking like a couple of years ago on this particular topic, but it doesn't show up anywhere else. But writing has always been consistent across everything. And so probably if I'm going to look at doing a side gig, the way that I approach that, maybe I should not focus too much on video content. Maybe I should look at newsletters and blogs and things like that, right? Now, that's quite broad, right? Which probably your audience doesn't really want. They don't want a kind of a generic life purpose thing. And so what we can do is we can get more specific with the questions we ask. So that question I just asked now was, what's the type of work that you've always enjoyed doing? We can also do the same for people. So who are the type of people that you've enjoyed working for the most? Again, you're going to get another generic pattern. It might be something like people who are open to trying out new ideas, or it might be people who are highly critical and logical, or it might be, spiritual people or whatever else, right? You pair those two together and you start getting more specific, right? So now you've got writing and you've got people who are open to new ideas. And then you can start looking at, well, what are all the problems that I've enjoyed solving throughout the past? And you might identify another pattern there, which might be something like open access to education or something. And then you could look at the type of outcomes you enjoy delivering, because for a lot of people, maybe thought-based or education-based outcomes aren't enough. Maybe they want to see a table, like they've built a table and they see that in front of them. That feels like real work. And the sort of ideas and stuff don't really do it for them. So you want to identify a pattern theme across the outcomes you enjoy delivering. And so you can start to ask all of these types of questions. And even though every answer is going to be generic, when you pair them together, you get a really refined scope of what it is you're probably going to commit to long term. And so I would say that's the foundation for a side gig. And it starts with you, right? It starts with what it is you're going to be interested in. So that's just like a little thought process that I have for, identifying long-term directions that you are most likely to stick to. Again, so I can't predict it entirely, but the idea is that if you've always had these patterns in the past and you've gone through all these changes and you've had major shifts, you've got crises, you've had huge success come down or, changed a lot as a person, then there's probably nothing more or less extreme that's going to significantly change you. These patterns are probably going to persist throughout your life. So whatever side gig you have can stay within that scope.
Yeah, I love that, because then you're more likely to stick with it because you enjoy doing it. And then you think life is supposed to be enjoyable and happy, not just, I struggle through this, because at the end, at the end of the week, there's, my time is my time off. I have to do this
Hmm.
so then I can enjoy something later. But why not just enjoy what you're doing, be happy with what you're doing? And you don't always know that from leaving school. I remember in high school, we had to do, in the last year or two of school, we'd have like careers, like 30 minutes once a week, and somebody talk about careers. And then we had a computer, and then you had to answer loads of questions, and then it would filter through, what kind of job or career that you would like to do when you leave
Hmm.
them. And I remember on it, it said that I wasn't suited for the military, which was funny because I then joined the Navy and then I joined the Army, and I used to
Yeah.
be in the Army cadets and stuff. And I had a great time and loads of experiences. It wasn't very clever. I mean, I guess now it's probably a bit more sophisticated with how
Hmm.
technology has grown. But yeah, I was thinking when you were speaking, what have I enjoyed? What have I liked doing? And I was thinking, I keep going back to doing staging. I love designing.
Hmm.
I've done houses. I've really enjoyed fixing up and designing houses that I've lived in. I know what people would want. So I feel like I'm good at fix and flipping. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, doing that creative of like, well, could I do a little staging company on the side?
Hmm.
And I just
Hmm.
have, yeah, like furniture and make it look good. Or could I do designing for somebody? Somebody's like, I don't know what to do with my house. I have no vision. Come round
Hmm.
and tell me what to do. And then I can figure out, like, do this painting and tell the contractor to do this, that, and the other. And so, yeah, that's really food for thought, is what do you like doing? And then equally, what do you not like doing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because I think so. I have a term which I call success friction. It's basically where you have to work against yourself in order to make something happen. If I'm an introverted person and I'm told to do door-to-door sales, I'm going to have success friction. I'm working against myself and my own nature in order to fulfill my job. So I'm not going to do as well at door-to-door sales as an extroverted person.
I've seen that with people, like with wholesaling. So you need to speak
Mm.
directly to like the owner. And for me, I just find it so cringe. I'm like, oh, I want to give you the best price, but I also want to make some money for me. But and I just think, oh no, I'd rather just buy from a wholesaler. Let them deal with it. It just makes me feel icky. But then I can do other
Mhm.
things, like I can sit and then chat with you and have a good conversation with people. So I know I can talk with people, but then like if I find it awkward when it comes to their money, getting money from people as
Hmm.
such. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's
I see. What most gurus and coaches will do is they'll frame these differences as problems, right? So I was had a chat to a woman who was offering some kind of spiritual mindfulness advice, older lady and obviously quite peaceful and she ended up meeting this coach who was telling her to charge high ticket prices, to just do one offer, make 5K offers and just have one client and just do a lot for them and get things going. That has proven to work for people before, but she just had a lot of resistance to asking for that. And so that was treated as a mindset problem. It's okay, you're not confident enough charging for this. Now, before determining whether you do have a money mindset problem of asking for more, it's good to just check whether that isn't a genuine indicator of something, like maybe what you're charging for isn't actually worth $5,000 and maybe it doesn't even need to be worth $5,000, because if you can just scale, like if you can sell it at $500 or at $20 and it takes less time and it's more scalable, then that could even be a better business model. I think the simple messaging tends to win out in social media and with these coaches and experts telling you how to make money. But I mean, maths is very flexible, and there's many different ways in which you can look at the numbers and design something that actually suits you. But if it is a mindset problem and that's something that people need to work on, that's fine. But it's good just not to jump to that conclusion.
yeah, yeah, definitely. So what is it that you like offer for people? Like, do you help people? Like, so if I was like, oh, I'm a bit stuck, I want to make an extra $1,000 a month, I don't know what to do, my job constraints me like 40 hours a week, I
Mhm.
have, two kids, my husband, I need to keep my house together. What
Mhm.
can I do? Like, what can I do as a side hustle to make extra money so we can have a nice vacation once a year?
Mhm. Mhm. So that foundation that I just talked about, I think that's always a good start, because you get that scope immediately of like, oh, you've always liked doing this. You've always liked working with these people. You've always been passionate about these problems, enjoyed delivering these solutions in this way. That's a great starting point. And it's when you consider all of that together, it does get quite specific. But then you also need to consider the external scenarios that you were sort of talking about now. So this is where I like to talk about limitations and constraints, which a lot of people don't like hearing. I think, especially in the self-help world, the idea
Yeah.
of being limited kind
Yeah.
of puts people off. Yeah. But the
Oh,
thing
you
is,
just need to do it. You just need to go. You just need to put yourself out there. No, no, no. It's not quite simple. I still need to get
yeah,
dinner ready at the night time. I can't
yeah.
just be airy fairy, be like, oh yeah, yeah, it'll just work out.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a huge problem with acting limitless as well, which is that you can't make decisions because if you can do anything, what are you going to do and how are you going to decide,
Yeah, yeah,
right? So then I actually, the more limitations I find in myself, the more clarity I get. I'm like, oh, I don't like dealing with data in large numbers. And, maybe I don't like large crowds. I don't like charging high prices. All of this stuff is going to start to limit my options and until I'm eventually left with just like the single best way forward. And that's kind of like the process that I showed you in that video of like, what networks do you have, what skills do you have, what, resources and everything. And it's also the sign of skill because like if you look at something like a game of chess to an amateur, they can see many different moves in a given situation. Oh, I could go here, I could do this, I could do that. Whereas like a grandmaster, they'll see maybe one move, one or two moves as what's the next best move. So we're doing that, but with your life, we're sort of going, okay, so, you have kids, which means there are certain time constraints and where you can and can't work. And you might even have certain delivery constraints. Like, for example, I probably can't film too much content if I've got a kid screaming in the background or something like this. Maybe writing is the best thing for me. And then you can start reasoning like this. So you treat every limitation you have as as a factor and it just starts pointing you towards the right direction
yeah.
naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found I did that with like my cleaning business here. Like I didn't come to America 5 years ago and go, cool, I'm going to be a cleaner when I go to America. That's just what I want to do. But it just worked out that my husband was working shifts and they kept rotating around the 24-hour clock, 4 on 4 off, 4 on 4 off, and then it will change. And so he could never be to the school drop off and the school pickup at these specific times every day and be around at the weekends when they're off and all that. So I was like, right, so that is my restraint there. What can I do during the school hours? And then I have to be finished by that time. I didn't want to work for somebody else, like you say.
Mhm.
I've been there and done that, and I like being by myself. And then I can listen to books, I can take calls in my headphones, I can get my own clients, I can charge what I want to charge. And eventually, I built that up to more and more higher paying clients. And if I don't want to do a job, I don't have to. So there was
Mhm.
pros and cons to it. I mean, when I'm doing some of the jobs, I'm like, oh my goodness, but some of them really aren't bad at all.
Mhm.
But yeah, I literally did that. Now you're saying all this, I'm thinking, yeah, I actually did that myself, thinking, what can I do with this? What are my limits? And the kids in the school, but then
Mhm.
also my cleaning then pays for their private school and it pays for their clubs. And that's what I wanted to
Mhm.
do. Like I said before, I just want a vacation once a year for my family and treat them to something. I need to make that for
Mhm.
me. I want my kids to go to a nice private school. And so that's what I'm doing to make it happen.
Yeah. And that's awesome. And a lot of the stuff that we're doing here, especially the first process I talked to you about with the long-term direction, is great for kids leaving school. And that's something that I'm talking to a couple of private schools about anyway. So I was thinking about helping parents with their kids with choosing a career direction. Looking at some of the reasoning behind this for me anyway was it's they're about to spend a lot of money on a degree, coming out of school. They're going to get into a profession. We want to do drastic career changes. That's not too good. So there's a lot of costs coming. You might want to make the right decision. And so that's where I can come in with these parents. And I could say, hey, I'll charge this much, but if you want, it's free through the school partnership program, right? And parents, they want it for free. So they're all going to go to the school. And then I might get some sort of recurring thing with the school. So that there is a potential side gig for me and something that I might work on. Yeah, I think it kind of aligns with my values as well in terms of having impact. Not too interested in the flashy kind of social media stuff, but if I can help like as many kids as possible now, 20, 30 years down the line, that impact, if if I can get them all in the right place and doing things they love, that impact would be huge.
It's not like a quantifiable like monetary amount that you can put a value on it, but it's like, you know, you're making an impact and steering somebody in the right direction of what they might like to do. And like you say,
Mm.
if you change every 3 to 7 years and your life changes, you know, hopefully if you get in early with somebody and they're already on a good course, and then the life
Mhm.
dramatically changes, you're like, okay, well actually no, I was happy doing this, and I'm going to stay happy doing this. But now I've fallen pregnant and I didn't mean to. I don't know. Now
Mhm.
you've got a kid and your life is like, oh wow, now I don't want to work. I want to be with my child. It can
Mhm.
happen like that. So then I guess you at that point they can come and get more advice from you. Like, oh, okay, what can I do
Mhm.
now? My life has
Yeah,
changed now.
that's kind of actually just to contrast because we've covered a couple of different, well, I guess two primary frameworks. So one is the long-term direction, one is like, okay, this is kind of like fundamentally where you're heading, but then within that, you can kind of zigzag your way there, right? So internally, what inspires you is that big long-term direction. Then how you actually move there is by thinking about the external world in front of you, like your circumstances. I know for parents it's really challenging because I have a 15-month-old son now, so I understand the challenges, and obviously working from home, also see what my wife goes through in order to support him and everything. And so when I see that, I think, yeah, this could be really really challenging for a lot of parents. And I think what we need to do is use our current situation to propel ourselves forward rather than trying to escape it. So what I mean by that is you've got your current situation here, everyone you know, your kids, your time constraints, your monetary constraints, whatever
Where you
skills you
live in the
have,
world.
where you live. Yep. And then you've got your goal where you want to get to, right? And then you've got the stuff you don't have here, which everyone's telling you you need. And you're trying to get all this stuff. Like you're trying to access a new network, you're trying to build new skills, you're trying to make more money. And obviously you can go for that. But the thing to remember is that getting these things you don't have does take extra time. So, for example, when it comes to building skills, there is a kind of feedback loop which can slow you down a little bit, which is if you don't have the skills, you don't get the opportunities. People want someone with skills. If you don't have the opportunities, you don't build the experience necessary, and then that can kind of slow you down. So it's a bit of a catch-22. People can work through that. It just takes longer for those reasons. When it comes to networks, like trust is a big issue. So if you want to start a new business or a side hustle, you might be looking at a completely new industry, and so that's going to take some time. Like it could be 3 years before people start trusting you. You might be sharing content and doing a lot of stuff before you actually get the opportunities you need. So before you do that, it's good to just have a look to make sure you don't already have everything you need, or whether you're willing to compromise on your goal in order to move forward, right? So let's say that I want to have a drop shipping business selling martial arts equipment, but then let's say I don't know anything about martial arts. I don't really know any martial artists. I'm going to just try and make that happen. That's going to be a business that will take a lot longer for me than if I stop. Okay, that's the goal I want. But, I know I used to do a lot of swimming, and I have a lot of friends who do swimming and their parents and kids who do swimming. I work at an event management company. That might start to point you towards some kind of swimming event or doing something that way. So instead of choosing the goal and then trying to meet all the requirements for that goal, just look at what you already have and see if you can piece together a goal with what you already have. And that can make your goal more immediately accessible. And this isn't like you have to do it this way. All I'm saying is that this will help you identify the fastest path to money for you personally, or the fastest path to success for you personally. And with each success you get, like for example, if you succeed in having this swimming event and it's shared all over the news, now you have some new resources. Now you have like a bit of extra publicity. Maybe you have a little bit of trust with these people. Maybe next you might be able to host a different sporting event. Then you build more networks. And so what happens is each goal you have, your situation improves. Each goal you achieve, your situation improves. And then you have more variables to play with. And so as you kind of work your way up, your options expand. But, if you're starting from the very beginning, you don't have many options. And so, for that reason, it can be just a good place to start with what you have and just to make money in a way that's just fast and immediately accessible to you. So we're kind
I
of
think
looking at like a resourcefulness skill here.
Yeah, but then I think so many people then get who shouts the loudest and online on social media. And there's just so much bad noise out there, but because they have
Hmm.
the money, they can shout the loudest and be like, oh, oh, you were trying to make $500 extra a month. Oh, okay, well, I have the answer here. Just give me, like, $5,000 and I'll give you
Hmm.
my secret. Here you go. And it's just everyone just thinks, oh, I'll pass all the zigzagging and all this like restraint and this slow build up. I'll just go straight to the end. It's like snakes and ladders, isn't it? It's like,
Hmm.
I just got the ladder up, that
Hmm.
big ladder to the top, here's my pass and off you go. And then realize that when you go down the big snake later, it was because there was no secret and it wasn't aligned with you and what you can do and your external factors of where you live, your time, resources. And yeah, they're only rich because you keep giving them $5,000, not so
Yeah,
much
yeah.
because what they were teaching actually was going to make you, $500 extra a month or whatever you need. Yeah. And so it's just trying to stop people going from the dangling carrot of no, 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 just pause. What works for you? And you can end up going so much more further than what you ever could if you just didn't fall for the big loud noise of get rich quick.
This might sound really bad to say. I don't know if anyone's really said it before, actually, but education is a little bit overrated in terms of like what they're making it out to be. So if some guru is asking for like 5K, 10K, the first thing to note is that they're only giving you advice. They're not going to be doing any work for you unless that they do have a done for you offer, which is a little bit different than a coach. For example, you might hire like a marketing firm and you might pay them 5K. They write ads for you. They test them. They do all this stuff for you, whatever their service is. That's probably a little bit more valuable because they're actually doing the work. But for a lot of coaches, they're just showing you how you can do it. You still have to do the work. Yeah. I mean, that's just a simple thing. If someone is saying like, yeah, I'll show you how to do it. So is it a done for you service or is this just you telling me what to do? Because if it's you telling me what to do, there's no guarantee that it's going to work for you or that it's going to align with your values or your context.
Because they don't have, like, that is their job, is to market what they're doing, so they don't have like so many hours per week assigned to their 9 to 5 to pay all their bills. Like, they can go and do this, oh, look how successful I am, because but they don't have the same, like you're saying, the start point. It's not, you're not all starting at the same start line of a sack race. You're
Mhm.
all staggered in different places. So yeah.
That's I guess that's where the value of sort of what I do comes from as well, is that it's not about it's upstream of more detailed advice, which is still needed, but the kind of advice that I'm offering is that kind of pre like direction setting, like where am I going to go, what should I do, sort of advice. So like advice on how to come up with your own advice or
Triage.
ways to move forward. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in social media at the moment, everyone's just shouting their opportunities like, oh, you should be a coach or, you should get into, property investment or Bitcoin or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with any of these. But without these kind of your own thinking, you're just going to get pulled in different directions from these different people. And so it's good to sort of reflect on, yourself and your context and situation and sort of work out like, oh, what is going to be best for me? And let's say it's, like investing in real estate or something. And then now you can move forward without these crypto people trying to, get you into their programs and stuff.
I keep going back to I'm thinking what the people with the most, like, I'm not against them, but the most restraints
Hmm.
is families between sort of 25 and 40 years old. And you've got your kids and you've got all these bills and you're trying to save for later in life and you're trying to make sure your kids have a great upbringing. You go on vacations, you've got a car that runs, everyone's fed, heating, cooling, all that. But then if you're trying to then do a side hustle to create that extra wealth that you want for whatever need, and if you end up just going for, oh, get rich quick, but it doesn't align with what you'd like to do, and if you don't enjoy it, you're going to find it really hard to do your school run in the morning, to do your day job, to come home and do then dinners and bed and homework and everything, clean the house, feed the dogs, take them for a walk, and then the house has gone quiet, and then you're like, oh, I just don't want to do it. But if you're going to do something that you enjoy and you feel passionate in it, and you just like to do it, like things that just doing a jigsaw puzzle. I love doing a jigsaw puzzle, and I realized I hadn't done one in years. And then around Christmas time, I got one out, and it got the whole family around the table, and all my kids were enjoying it. My husband were all just back and forth doing this puzzle, and it was great just to reset because I was like, do you know what? I love doing puzzles, and no TV was on. We just had music on, and so you want to do it. Now I'm like, oh, we should do puzzles more because we enjoyed it. So if you come to the end of the day and now you're trying to work at your side hustle and you got that like, oh, do I have to like going to the gym? People are like, I don't want to. And you're going to find it so much more harder. There's going to be so much more restriction there because you're trying to motivate yourself to do it. And then, like you say, it's not going to be long term because you're just going to get burnt out. You're going to lose the enthusiasm. And if there's any excuse to then not do it, you'll probably take that excuse and not do it. And then you're going to get frustrated and lose confidence. Like, I wasn't good enough. I couldn't do it. Other people are doing it and I couldn't. But somebody else who might have done it has completely different factors in their life. Like they've just got loads of inheritance. They don't really need to work, or their job pays more than they need, and so they don't need to work so much. They can give their time to this and enjoy their time off. But yeah, it's such a good, important conversation, I think, to have. Is what there's just so much to it. Like, what's your factors? What do you enjoy? Put that together into something.
Yeah. And I mean, just a couple of things just off the top of my head from that. I mean, one of them is, I think if you look at your life, you can break it up into maybe like your career, financial, love, children, if you have children, sports, what else? Social, friend, travel.
Looking after another family member, being a disability, a carer, or having an elderly person come to live with you, that's a massive restraint, and it restricts your life as well. Yeah.
So and that's a great example of looking after an elderly person or sick person, right? So with that, so we see these as like limitations or problems, but I guess where I'm coming from with using your current situation to propel yourself forward is like, oh, maybe I can start documenting my advice on caring for my elderly parent who is sick. I can sell that advice. I can create like a PDF for other people who are going through something similar. Maybe your findings will be helpful. It's a good test, like, oh, like, okay, I've got some problems in my life. I just want to try and solve it myself. I've got a son that's kind of walking around now. He's a little bit more stable now, but before it was a nightmare just making, like, he could stand up, but just to make sure he would fall over and bang his head on the tiles and stuff here. And so it was a challenge. I thought, well, you know what? Maybe I can just try and see if I can find some awesome little hack,
Yeah.
Nothing aside from padding the floors. If you just try and find something, you might get something worth selling.
Affiliate, you find something that was a really good, oh my God, this is such a good baby buy. And then you can then show it in your household of like, this is my problem before, and now I bought this product, and then now look how much it's improved my life. It could do. Here's the link for it, and you get a kickback for your value of advertising and saying why it was better. So yeah, and adding affiliates into it as well.
Yeah, so it's like, rather than trying to add something else onto your life, try and make something already in your life that side hustle. And you'll probably come up with a lot of ideas when you think of it that way. And if you don't, you can always just think about what your limitations are, right? And then just that will point you to a particular direction.
Do you know when I do the best thinking, the best ideas come to me is when my body's doing something that's autopilot. So when you're driving, and if you're driving with a stick, in the UK, most cars have a gear stick. And so you just automatically, sometimes you be driving, you're like, I can't remember going from first to fourth gear. But you just do it automatically. Or, for me, it's when I'm cleaning and I'm just like listening to just some casual music, or I'm listening to a book that I've read before. So I'm just like, but I'm doing something that isn't using my brain to work something out. I'm not doing data. It's just mindless work doing cleaning. It's not difficult. And so my mind can just wander, and I think about stuff, and then I have this idea come to my head, and I have to rush to my phone. And I did it with you, and I was like, let me just write this down now while it's in my head, and we're emailing, otherwise I'll lose it. And I just get great ideas, and I think about things, and then I can come back to my husband sometimes at night, and I'm like, I had this great idea for a social media, like, we need to do this, it's different, and I think it will work, and it's better. And it often comes from earlier in the day when I was just cleaning, because I find like, if you do a mindless task of cleaning your own house and you're not watching TV, everything's just settled, that's when you have your thinking time and stuff
Hmm.
just comes to you, I
Hmm.
think.
Yeah, and that's I love that because it just highlights how success isn't so linear. Um, you know, you can have, for example, imagine two people writing a book and they're both invited to a dinner at a restaurant, and one person's listening to Alex Hormozy and they're saying, "No, I'm writing the book. I'm gonna hustle. I don't want to write more, but I'm gonna write more. To sit in my room, I'm just gonna write, and get this book done, and maybe they get more pages." Maybe they get more pages done. And the other person goes to the dinner and they're talking to some friends, and one of the people there happens to know a publisher, and they get the number and they call them up or something, right? So this person now has a publisher. They got less pages now, but they got a publisher. And it just shows that like you can't sort of predict where your progress is going to come from. It can come from just like vacuuming and having an idea. You know, it's the same, right? For in the shower or right before bed, you can have these ideas come to you because you're just in that state and thinking
Yeah,
about
just
stuff.
like not meditation, but you kind of are. And I think I remember reading that Jack Canfield who did the Chicken Soup of Soul. What's it called? There's the chicken soup. I think a chicken soup or soul. I don't know. And he was saying about his book, and he was in this bad situation, and things like work and right in his life, and he was stuck. And then he was just in the shower, and apparently a lot of ideas come from people in the shower because you're doing something mindless. You know how to wash your hair on automation. You know how to wash your body, and so your mind just has that time to just stop all the noise. And then he said this idea came to him, and then now he's like this very successful person, and it just it went on from there and
Hmm.
there. It just takes that one moment of, oh wow, a light bulb went off. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. And usually it is like from unconsciously, like what your brain is doing is usually that process that we kind of discussed where like there's all these different parts of your life and they all come together to create an idea. Like, oh, I know this friend could do this thing to help me with this person, and then we could get money. Like it's so the process that I was kind of going through there in terms of like, working out what your limitations are is kind of you doing that consciously. So, that can assist with that type of thinking, that idea generation. Um, I
Yeah.
think that's how like Jeff Bezos as well decided to come up with Amazon. Like he didn't decide to have a bookstore first. He kind of looked at like internet usage and then he was like, internet usage is going up, but it's still like a really new technology. So I can't really do anything that if I do anything that a physical store can still do, then I'm going to be less competitive than them. So I need something that a physical store can't do to take advantage of the internet. And physical bookstores can't hold like 5 million books, so I'll do that. But that his conclusion of what side gig he wanted to start up was the last thing. He kind of reasoned his way there based on what he knew. And I think everyone listening can do that. They can write down what they know, what trends they see, who's in their network, who do they know. And sometimes when you look across those, you can find these interesting, very strange combinations, but then you're actually, that could work.
I feel like that
Yeah.
literally happened to me last year. So as I was writing my books, I got thrown out of a guru group because,
Mhm.
saying the truth of what was really going on, and they didn't like it. And then that inspired me and pushed me to write a book. And I was like, well, I can delete me out of the group, but I'll write a book because people need to hear what I have to say. And I never thought I would be able to write a book in my life. But anyway, it happened. And then the connection from my publishers came through somebody else and then mastermind I'm in. So it's something you just have to go with the flow. And then when I was writing my book, usually you have an end goal. Why are you writing the book? What is it you want people to do when they have finished the book? And it was only really the second half onwards. I was like, where am I taking this book to? What do I want to do afterwards? And I don't want to go
Mhm.
to what
Mhm.
I was saying these people are not good at. Like
Mhm.
these are not good people. So I don't want to be a hypocrite and become one of them. And so then I was like, well, what can I do? What aligns with me better and makes me feel better? And like with my marketing, I don't want to charge a high price, but like the same with the guy, was it Simon who said it's like low cost but volumes. I was like, well, if I can charge a cheap amount and it aligns and then have more people, I still get to my end goal of what I want to earn and bring value, but also it aligns with I want to get it to as many people as I can. So I was like, oh, this works better. Not high price for a few people, but a lower price for a lot of people. and I feel good that I'm helping as many people as I can because it's affordable for as many people as I can. And then I bring value and help, and then bring people like you on board to then help others more. Like we can all keep networking and spider webbing of it, of like, okay, now this person can help loads of you with all this. And then that, and it just keeps going out, and yeah, it impacts more and more people. Writing my book and then getting to the end point and figuring out as I was going, and so you just sometimes have to go with the flow, and it all works out in the end. And now I'm very aligned, and I feel happy, and I'm okay with charging that amount.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. So, actually interesting you say that about the book, because I kind of felt the same. Like I've written a self-defense book before, and it's just started with notes, and then it went from that to like, oh, this is big enough to write a book on now. So then I pushed it a little bit further. Then I realized, oh, it's not enough to write a book. But then by the time I got there, it was enough to finish it. So I kind of went through and I got like 200 pages. I never thought I would be able to do. But after that process, having full awareness of how much it takes to write a book, I was like, I'm not doing that again. But then I had something that I needed to get off my chest, a little bit like you. And this is something we haven't touched on as much on this call, but it's just like another framework, which is about people's approaches to success. So it's like looking more at skills and people's strengths. It's more about finding the perfect match, or helping people create their own processes to success. That was a huge book, and I didn't think I'd ever finish it. A little bit like saving money, I kind of just sort of looked back at it and was like, oh, wow, it's going to be done soon.
Isn't it like 500 pages long, your book?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 500 and like
You had a
40,
lot to say.
47. Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. It's a lot of detail, and I
yeah.
understand it's definitely not a sort of a mainstream book, and it's a lot of it's quite technical.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to take like a couple of pages off that and make a 200-page book with it. Just something that the average person might be more motivated to read, because yeah, it's just one long argument that kind of breaks down some of the stuff that we've been talking about here.
A big book like that is more so when I'm going flying. So I'm gonna
Hmm.
travel, and I'll be like, right, I need a nice big book that's gonna last me my travels, and I'm not just gonna finish it in a couple of hours on a flight and keep going. So yeah, it's a great
Hmm.
book for doing a long journey, I think, and keeping you engrossed. And yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Definitely, definitely. Yeah. So I would say that's it. Like, in terms of like the two processes, especially if you're looking just to find like a side gig or a way of making money. I think internally you want to be aligned with the direction that your side gig or your side hustle or your business is going to take you on. So whatever you're doing to make money, make sure that you identify those consistent themes across time,
Yeah.
and you you work within those themes, and that will just make sure that you remain interested. There's still going to be highs and lows, but it's going to just be something stable that you're going to be able to stick with for 20, 30 years. The side gig you're most likely to stick to for that long anyway. And then externally thinking about, your what you actually have, not what you don't have, right? And using what you have to move forward.
Yeah, what do you not focus on? Oh, I don't have this, I'm missing this out of my life, and I want this. And actually
Mhm.
going, actually, no, I already have this, and I have this resource. And I say with my husband, I have my husband to help me with different things. He's like an asset to me when it comes to stuff with my business, because he can figure out and do things, and he knows things that's faster processed than me. So I'm like, I have him in my life rather than me
Mhm.
going, oh, I don't provide enough for my family and I can't do this, that, and the other. I'm like, okay, so no, I have my husband, he can help me. Let's get to this point. So yeah, that's a
Hmm.
really good
Hmm.
point.
It's just gratitude taken a step further. It's like, oh, don't just be
Yeah.
grateful for your life, but actually like write down what you have and combine stuff together, and you'll find a way forward. Well, and I think the best thing for a lot of people, and if you're under time pressure to make money, this process is very good, because you're gonna quickly see like, okay, I don't have many options. I'm under time pressure. I like, it just sobers you up, and then you're gonna have, like one group of people that is just most available to you, like a network that is just where you should start. You're going to have some skills. I'm not talking about qualifications here as well. This can just be things that you're good at, and whatever resources you have, whether it's camera on your phone or whatever, there's just going to be something there that you'll commit to. And if you've got more time, then you can kind of play around with these variables and stuff a little bit more and just see what comes to mind. And obviously there's also this community here, which can probably help a lot with that as well. You can explore all the different side hustles and stuff there. So I think that's a
Yeah,
brilliant approach.
to anyone listening, Jared's in my platform where you can come and ask him questions and he'll respond. And then if you want to take it further, you can go and have, a one-to-one private conversation with yourself. And then I'll let you, sort that with people. But yeah, you are available as a resource in the group to give some advice. And it's, there's once you're in, it's not like, oh, you can only ask Jared a question if you pay another extra per month. No, everything inside the platform is all included. And then if you want to then go off and do a one-to-one with them, that's between you two. But you are available inside there, which I think is great because I think it's such a good before you go anywhere else is you're the first triage of all the factors where to go.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for being on. Thanks for chatting. And I hope people have taken stuff away. Even I have thinking about this. It's got me thinking, oh yeah, I kind of did that naturally with my cleaning business when we got here. And be grateful, like we were just saying, being grateful for what you do have rather than focusing what you don't have. And then also comparing to other people, thinking they have so much more than you. You don't know. You don't know what is going on behind the scenes. So yeah, no, thank you for being on. It's been a really good conversation.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, oh, thanks. No, it's good to be on my call, and yeah, appreciate it. And yeah, for anyone listening, I'll see you in the community. Feel free to run through these exercises or ask any questions. I'll help you out wherever possible.